Hi, it's Shelley with Strategic Sales Advisors, and welcome back to my channel, Building Sustainable Sales. This year, as I've mentioned before, I'm sharing insights on how business owners can enhance their sales processes, strategies, teams, and systems to drive sustainable growth. And today, we're going to talk about a topic that's critical to building high-performing sales teams, and that is sales compensation models. We're going to explore why a good model is essential, the most important structures, and how to create a plan that drives motivation and results. So let's dive in. Well, let's talk about the importance of a good sales model. And a good sales compensation model is more than just a paycheck. It's a powerful tool for driving the right behaviors and achieving your business goals. And here's why it matters. It's going to motivate your team to consistently hit or exceed their targets. It's going to help you attract top talent by offering competitive and fair rewards. And it's going to align your team's efforts to your company's revenue goals. So if you think about it, sometimes we see companies, for example, in the software as a service space, they'll come out initially with a compensation model that may or may not drive or produce the results that they want. But what I have seen is that sometimes they will go in, for example, and revamp their compensation model to include things like performance-based bonuses, right? And within several months, the team will double the number of demos booked, and that will boost their pipeline results. So there is a reason why compensation models are important. So let's talk a little bit about structure in compensation models. Let's break down sort of, I guess, the three most important or popular compensation structures and the types of sales that they motivate. So let's talk about one that I think a lot of business owners lean into quite frequently. That's the high commission, low base salary. And when we look at it from a business owner standpoint, right, when we have low base salaries, we have low out-of-pocket expense initially and high commission, it can be attractive to a business owner to start with this type of a sales compensation model, right? We're not outlaying a ton of money up front for the sales team member until they start bringing in business, and then they are compensated more from their high commission. This model really works best for really highly motivated, very independent salespeople who really thrive on closing deals. Sounds great, right? That's a perfect salesperson in a lot of business owners. We see that a lot in things like real estate, right? A realtor or real estate employee will focus in or have the majority of their revenue coming from their commissions on house sales, that type of thing. Insurance brokers as well, right? Very low compensation as far as base, very high compensation on the commission side of things. It's really directly tied to their performance. The challenge is that this type of a commission structure, low base, high commission, also drives the behavior around find the business, close the business, move on to the next one. So if your business is highly concentrated on nurturing relationships, this might not be the right commission structure for you or the right compensation structure for you. Just something to keep in mind. The second one would be a high base and a low commission structure, right? So kind of the opposite of our first one. And this is ideal for roles that require longer sales cycles, or there's a really heavy focus, like I said, on relationship building, like account management or enterprise sales. Think about if you had someone in your business, or your sales cycle, for example, is 18 months long, right? High base, low commission is probably something that you're going to have to gear towards, because it would be very hard to find salespeople that would work for extended amounts of time for very little to no money in an opposite structure. And on the opposite side too, think about industries such as like hotel sales development, right? Franchising development, those types of things. Those have a longer sales cycle, but they also have a really, really high price to them. And in that case, low base, high commission actually might be better for you as a business owner, because it's a bit more predictable with what you're going to be spending for your sales team member. Now, it also is a little bit riskier for you, because in that high base situation, you're going to be heavily reliant on your sales team members to continue to be motivated. But that stable base is going to bring in some, it's going to give you an opportunity to bring in some more higher performing sales team members. We just have to make sure that we tie the compensation to the right activities or the right behaviors that we want. We can talk about that a little bit. The third one would be basically base only salary. And I do see a lot of companies that will start out their sales team members in a base only salary. Truthfully, base only is probably only suitable for roles focused more on support than direct revenue generation, like inside sales reps or customer success teams. And the reason is that base only, there's no motivation for new business development, for example, or for customer retention. And we want sales to be focused on these areas, right? Operationally, our sales teams are focused on getting the job done, right? Either getting the service done for the client or the product built so that it can go out to the client. Sales needs to be focused on revenue generation and revenue growth. So we want to make sure that in any kind of compensation model that we are building something around that where there is rewarding behavior or rewarding compensation guided towards what we need them to do. Each structure has its place. The key is choosing one that best fits your sales team's responsibilities and goals. So let's take a couple of things in mind, right, when we're creating a sales compensation plan. Let's talk about a few factors that ensure that it's effective and fair. The first is industry standards. So it's really important to research similar businesses in your similar market area, right? So not saying that if you are in a very small town and to research New York City-based industries, right? That wouldn't make sense. But we want to research similar businesses and what they're offering. And this helps you stay competitive in attracting and retaining talent. If you are building out, for example, a software as a service company in Austin, Texas, for example, where there are a lot of other software as a service companies based, and you are putting your sales compensation plan and you are not taking into account those other businesses when you're building your plan and what they're doing from a compensation standpoint, that is going to put you back against hiring effective and strong talent. So we want to make sure that we're taking industry standards. We also want to align our compensation plans and our compensation models with our sales cycle and our buying behavior of the target market, right? I mentioned that before. Again, you will not, or you will have an extremely hard time finding people to come in from a sales perspective in a high commission, low base salary if you have an extended sales cycle. So, take these things into account. And then also your revenue goals. So you need to be building your plan around achieving specific sales targets that contribute to your overall growth. When I build a sales compensation model out, the majority of the compensation or quota is built around revenue numbers, right? That's what sales does. We're there to build and bring in top line revenue. But I also build in an activity quota or an activity goal and compensate against that, simply because I know in my years in sales and sales leadership that if sales is doing the right activities, the revenue will follow. So I want to compensate. I want to tie compensation to activity-based behaviors that I need sales to do in order for the revenue to come in, right? We want to make sure that we are identifying that and driving those different types of things. So let's talk about sales goals. I kind of mentioned that here just a moment ago. Like, we want to align our compensation plan with the sales goals. This is critical. So if your goal is to drive new customer acquisition, you need to be incentivizing your team with higher commissions potentially for new accounts, right? You could do for renewals, you could do a certain amount, and then for new client acquisitions, you could do a slightly higher amount. If you're focused on upselling or cross-selling, for example, you could tie bonuses to specific activities. We want to make sure that we are tying things to what we want done. So if your business is heavily reliant on renewal contracts, for example, for product or service, and you need people focused in on that, you may have an entire sales role focused on just customer success and that renewal process and incentivizing them around a percentage of the renewals coming in, right? And then you may have a whole another channel in sales that's just new business development. We want to keep the accounts that we have, but we need to continue to find new business or new opportunity to come in, because that's how we grow our businesses. So we want to make sure whatever your goals are, that compensation is tied to it. All right. So let's talk about performance-based incentives for a moment. They can be a really excellent way to motivate your team and reward your top performers. A couple of examples might be things like bonus tied to hitting above the quarterly quotas. So if someone hits above a certain threshold, above their goal or their quota, a performance or bonus gets kicked in. I've seen that quite frequently, that once someone has achieved, above 115%, maybe they get an additional percentage point of their commission, or maybe they get a bonus check because they've grown above and beyond or exceeded expectations. We might want to reward achieving specific KPIs, like shortening the sales cycle or improving customer retention. Those are things that we definitely want to happen, because those are not only generate revenue, but they generate higher profits, simply because we've created efficiency in the operational side of things. You might want to create recognition programs like Salesperson of the Month or Salesperson of the Quarter, with monetary or non-monetary prizes. One of the things that you can do is you can understand your sales team members and what are their driving behaviors. Of course, pay and incentives are always a driving behavior for sales, but sometimes non-monetary, like recognition or plaques or things like that, being recognized in front of their peers, can also be incentives. And finally, I want to talk about the fact that we should be evaluating and adjusting compensation plans. They should never be static. We should be looking at them consistently, at least annually, to ensure that we're staying on target with the market, right? That there hasn't been a market shift or a market change in things going up, where your top performers would potentially look at other companies and see that and feel undervalued or underpaid. We also want to look at things like, are our performers consistently hitting their goals? That's something that we need to look at in our compensation model. Are we consistently hitting goals? Are we doing the activities that we need to do to hit goals, right? Is the plan driving those results you intended? And then, are our sales reps satisfied with the plan? Because they're going to be the first one to let you know when they hear of people in the industry that are being paid consistently more than they are. They're going to call that out to you. Just trust me. I'm going to pause here because these are all really great points, but one of the other things that I want to make sure that you as a business owner take into consideration is, and I hear this very often, especially in the small to mid-sized business community, is that a business owner will tell me as we're building out compensation plans, Shelly, this is great, but I want to ensure that my sales team members don't make more than I do annually. And I want to say, and no disrespect to business owners out there, but I find this a bit short-sighted for a couple of reasons. One, if we're putting a cap on what we expect sales to make, right, then what we're telling them is sell to this point and sell no more, right? And that's not what we want sales to do. We want sales out there selling consistently, driving performance and exceeding expectations as much as possible and growing your business. And that's the thing, right? They don't have equity in your company. So every time they go out there and sell a new product or service, that's building equity for you. That's building value for you. And while you as the business owner may not be taking that value out immediately in the form of pay, that is something that they are building for you consistently higher than what their compensation is. Because we're not paying sales through their base and their commission or whatever their compensation plan is, the full value of what they're selling. When I was in direct selling roles right before I moved into more of a strategy level or a leadership level, understand that at times my goals were $12 to $15 million a year. And I was not being paid $12 to $15 million a year. So I was being paid a very small percentage of what I was bringing in for the company. Now we know that operational expenses eat into that, but realize that the value that they are building for you, you will get out at the end. So my suggestion to you is, as you are building your compensation plans, don't cap them. Give sales the opportunity to grow and go above and beyond the numbers that that you have expectations. Because all that can do is that can just build your business larger and larger. All right, so let's wrap up. So a well-designed sales compensation model can transform your sales team's performance. And some of the key things that we want to make sure that we have in them are we need to understand the importance of that good model, right? And choose the right structure based upon your business needs. What are you trying to do? I don't want companies and organizations out there to always default to low base, high commission because it's less out of pocket initially for you, because that might not be driving the necessary behavior you need in order for your business to thrive. We also want to consider factors like industry standards and revenue goals. Let's tie those things together and understand those. And we want to continue to look at them to make sure that we stay competitive out there. We want to align our compensation with our sales objectives. And then we want to build performance-based incentives. If you have that opportunity, those are really fun to do, even if it's just salesperson of the month. Like, let's reward those behaviors that we want to see. Let's get people in friendly competition internally to win those types of performance-based rewards. And then finally, let's evaluate and adjust regularly to stay effective. And don't cap those sales programs. So I hope you found this video helpful. So if you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insights. And let me know in the comments, what's the biggest challenge you face in sales competition? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Building Sustainable Sales. Bye for now.